And we are live.
Yay! Hello, everybody. How's you doing?
We're here.
We are here.
We got
I
it.
am
We're
Theresa.
ready.
I'm the Canadian. Yes, I'm Theresa. I'm the Canadian Whiskey Smith, and tonight we are doing a Quarantinis and Quarantails episode. Some of you may remember back in the fall we had Heather on, and she took us through some really great cocktail ideas for the holidays, including the tip to be the star of any potluck by bringing batched cocktails.
And it works.
Remember that it's going to be awesome. But yeah, we've got Heather the Cocktail Contessa, and we've got Sarra, of course, from Whiskey Crusaders, who they just celebrated 1,000 subs over on their YouTube channel. That was a marathon day yesterday for you guys. Congrats. And of course, Sam from Whiskey She Wines.
Hello.
So well, that's us. We're here to get smashed on Sunday, right?
Yeah. Why
Yeah.
not? Literally, what else do we have to do? Nothing.
Well,
Yeah. I'm just going to
Nothing.
continue to smash through the weekend, okay?
Yeah.
Keep it going, right? Heather, welcome back. Why don't you go
Thank you.
and tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, so that the people who haven't seen before can get to know you a little bit.
Sure. My name is Heather Wibbles, and I like to describe myself as a whiskey enthusiast with a passion for cocktails. I love to make cocktails that convert non-whiskey drinkers to whiskey drinkers. And so a lot of what I'm doing right now, my blog is cocktailcontessa.com, and each week I'm having a set of quarantine cocktails. The first week was old fashions, and then I had Manhattans, and then this past week was a whiskey smash or a smash, and it's a very old cocktail, but it's one that's really easy to make at home. So what I'm doing right now during quarantine, because I am not an essential worker and I have had to not work for a while, I am filling my time coming up with cocktails to convert more people to whiskey drinkers, because as whiskey drinkers, we all know the more the merrier, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, the best whiskey is the whiskey you like to drink, the way you like to drink it. And with summer coming, sometimes people feel that, well, whiskey, that's a winter drink. I want my gin, I want my vodka coolers. But that's a fallacy, isn't it? I mean, I don't care. I will drink whiskey because I'm going to drink whiskey. But in the summer, I do like a nice fresh cocktail in the summer, I got to say. So looking forward to this tonight. I hope I could probably outfit everybody for 3 hours here tonight. I didn't want to run out. I didn't want to not have something. So I have too much.
Well, I saw your picture of all the fruits that you have, and I thought that maybe going with a smash would be kind of easy today, because we can get a little bit of fruit. And in fact, most of the fruits that I have that I'm going to use are ones that were frozen that I've just defrosted to use. So a smash is it's this endlessly customizable, personal kind of concoction that you can come up with. And really the fun is playing with the flavors and put them together. So for me, the smash is sort of like the perfect summer drink, because you can be hanging out with friends and you think about what you have either in your fridge, or what kind of fruit you have, or what kind of herbs you have growing in your garden. You think, well, you know what? Lemon and mint really would go together, and you can make a whiskey smash with lemon and mint. And it's cold and refreshing, and you serve it over cracked ice in most cases, and it looks beautiful. And, you make it with a bunch of friends, and everybody can make their own in their own shaker. You could build it in the glass. It's very easy, and it's a very easy way to get your friends to drink whiskey, which is my favorite kind of cocktail.
Sounds
like
it.
Yeah. Sounds like the kind of thing where you could set up a smash bar or something, right? If you're having a picnic or something like that in the backyard, you just set up all of this stuff over to the side and then give people a cup and say, here. I mean, it could be a red Solo cup. It sounds like that would probably work even, right?
Absolutely. I don't know if you guys can see over here, but I've just got you could set something up like this, as little containers of fruit, and let people have a set of tongs and put whatever they want in the bottom of their glass, or if they want to use the mixing tin. Some people get really excited about using a mixing tin because it's fun. It's fun to shake.
It makes them look cool.
It does. I don't like to try to throw it around or anything, because I'm endlessly afraid it's going to come undone and I'm just going to get cocktail all over me. And I have had that happen. And it's not cool. It's not fun.
I don't have a good set of mixing tins, but I've got like this smoothie shaker. It's got a nice screw-on lid, and it snaps in. I'm like,
good idea.
Yes.
There you go.
You're good.
Perfect. And you can pour it out without getting the ice out?
Yes,
Yep,
mostly.
exactly.
It
has a built-in strainer in it, right? Yeah,
Almost,
that's perfect.
Yeah. And I saw somebody today, they said mason jars are great. They were doing a bourbon sling or something like that. And they did it in a mason jar. And they're like, hey, if you don't have a shaker tin, a mason jar works great. I'm like, of course.
There you go. That's a good idea too.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can get a strainer top for a mason jar too that fits on one of the not the wide mouth jars, it's sort of the standard mason jar size. They have a little strainer cup that you just put on there. It's got a little strainer in it. You just take the top off and you can strain your cocktail right out, and you don't have to buy an extra shaker for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've got an empty glass.
I do too.
All right, let's go. So I'm going to build it in a shaking tin because I have one. So if you guys are going to put it in a shaking tin, that's fine. If you're going to build it in your glass, you can do that. I'm going to start with a little bit of, I like my smashes to have a little bit of citrus in them. So I'm going to start by putting about half of a lemon that I've quartered in the bottom of the tin first. Are you guys going to use, what kind of fruits are you guys going to use? And I'll kind of talk about what you're doing and maybe good pairings for what you guys are doing.
I've got lemon and lime.
Okay, that'll work. Do you have other fruits as well, or just lemon and lime?
Oh no, I got like blueberries and raspberries, and I got cucumber and herbs, and I even have like peaches, like cut up. I got like peaches and grapefruit and pineapple, and these even have like juices in them. So I'm like, ooh, that's like
that'd be good too.
Built-in simple syrup that's flavored.
Well, so a couple that I've done this week, I'm going to do lemon and peaches because I have some peach rosemary simple syrup that I want to use. I did blueberry and lemon yesterday with some lavender simple syrup that was fantastic. I've done blackberry smash this week that was really good with sage, which was an unusual pairing because it was a little bit savory, but blackberry and mint go really well together. And in fact, if you have limes, you can use limes and blackberries and actually use tequila if you have some. I know we're whiskey and lipstick, but you can use tequila, and sometimes rum will work okay if you're going to use mint. And it's almost a tiki-like drink. So there are a lot of different things you can use. So I'm going to put lemon in first, and then I'm going to put a couple of my peach slices that have defrosted a little bit. I'm going to put about 3 or 4 of those in there.
I've got watermelon, cantaloupe, and honeydew melon over here.
Ooh. So I would use the watermelon because watermelon, I think, goes really well with bourbon and mint. I think watermelon mint together because, sometimes people have the watermelon mint feta salads in the summer. That's kind of a summer taste to me. So watermelon and mint. So don't put the herbs in yet. Just put in the fruit and the lemon if you're going to use the lemon. And then take your muddler and start muddling that stuff together. And then if you guys have simple syrup, does everybody have a little bit of simple syrup?
Yes.
Perfect. Go ahead and put a little simple syrup in. The kind I have is peach rosemary. And I'm going to put about 3/4 of an ounce in.
Is it important to measure, or can you just kind of eyeball it? Or
I'm going to say it's important to measure to make a cocktail repeatable. So you can make a really good cocktail without measuring it, but you cannot make a second cocktail as good if you didn't measure the first one. Right. Ask me how I know.
I'm guessing there's some experience in there, hey?
Yes, just a smidge. Yeah. So I have mashed up the lemon pretty well. I've got the poor peaches are down here. They're pretty macerated too. And then I'm going to put rosemary in this one because I have the peach rosemary syrup. Mint would go well in this. Sage actually would work with this combination. With the watermelon, I would probably use mint. You guys need help on choosing herbs? You guys got herbs that you think will match pretty well?
I think I'm going to try putting the rosemary. I've got There's a local place here that makes all these pre-bottled simple syrups, and so this one is sumac and pink peppercorn, and it's got a nice kind of tang to it. I think it'll go with the.
That sounds really good. So I threw in about a sprig of rosemary in here. To mush up in here. I usually put the rosemary or the herb in last because I don't want to over muddle. Now for mine,
you want this?
What'd you say?
How mushy do we want this?
It's going to be pretty messy. It's fine if it's messy.
No, mushy. Smashed up.
Like, should it be like chunky or?
So with the peaches, you're still going to have pieces of peach in there, but with the watermelon, it's going to be pretty well. It should be pretty well, just watermelon smush.
Okay.
With the melon.
I don't mind eating some bourbon-soaked watermelon pieces. I'm not against it. So
that's good stuff. It's good stuff. I'm going to add a half ounce of peach liqueur to this, and then 2 ounces of whiskey. So for you guys, if you have an extra liqueur that you want to add in to kind of kick up a side flavor, you can do that, or you can just add 2 ounces of whatever whiskey you prefer.
I will be back. The only liqueurs I have is ginger and orange.
And what's the fruit that you have in there?
Watermelon.
The orange, actually, if just a little bit of the orange might be really good in there, but you don't need it because the watermelon, bourbon, and mint is going to be spectacular. And then I'm going to use Old Forester 100 because it's my favorite when I'm making smashes. So I'm going to do 2 ounces of that. What whiskeys are you guys using?
I think I'm going to go for... what am I going to go? Yeah, I'm going to pull out some of my Eleanor.
Ooh. Go big or go home.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice... So that was one of the things I can't remember if we actually were on camera already when we talked a little bit about it, but I like really bold flavored whiskeys in my cocktails. And I like high proof. Now, I know like a lot of people, they're like, if I'm just going to mix it or if I'm making cocktails, then I like to go for the bottom shelf because I don't want to waste my money. And I'm like, I don't want it. Like, if all I want is alcoholic fruit, I have vodka for that. But when it comes to my cocktails, I actually like to know that I've got a little bit of something in there.
Yeah. And I would, like I told you guys before, I think we started the stream, when I'm doing something like this and it's acidic and it's got a lot of fruit in it, I like to kick it up to at least 100 proof at the lowest. Something like a Pikesville rye at 110 proof would be fantastic. Pikesville itself is really bold in cocktails, and in something like a smash, it really shines through. I've got Rittenhouse actually over here, which is 100 proof. It's the bottled in bond, so it's really good too. So once you guys have everything muddled and you put in your liquor, I fill this with ice, and I'm going to shake it. And to do that, I'm actually going to turn off the mic so it doesn't like deafen you all. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll be back in a sec.
All right, I'm going to shake as well, so I will also
do the same.
I'm going to see if I can reach my. Oh, there.
Yours isn't going to be nearly as loud. And while they're shaking, I use the Girls Granddad 114 in mine.
Mm-hmm.
And do I put ice in mine?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, fill it with ice. And then for a true smash, you would use cracked ice, but I figure you guys don't need to see me hammering a mallet on ice. So I'm just going to use cubed ice, which is probably what you all have. And I basically shake it until it's so cold that it's hard to hold. So when I'm using a shaking tin, I just shake it until I can barely stand to hold on to it anymore, which tells me it's a good amount of chill and dilution in there. Since this mash is kind of informal, I didn't double strain it. If you really want to be careful with extra pieces of herb coming into it, you might want to double strain it. But for me, for the kind of cocktail we're going for, this is good for what it is. And then to garnish mine, I'm going to take a little slice of this peach and stick a little bit of that fresh rosemary in it. Now, one trick that you guys can do with your herbs is you can take your herb and kind of, I guess I'm kind of, slipping it across the rim just to get a little bit of the oils of the herb on the edge of the glass. If you want to wake up mint, you hit it against your hand, you spank it. Yeah, you spank your mint.
I like that. That's better than clapping it.
It's true.
It is called spanking. I'm serious. I didn't make that up. Yeah,
it's called spanking. You take your mint and you go like that.
Exactly.
It just opens up smack it.
So I don't know how well you guys can see this. So I've got the cocktail with the glass. I've got my little piece of mint over here with a little piece of rosemary with the peach in it. And so
mine's not that
actually.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I should put like actual fruit in the bottom of my cup, and I didn't. So now I'm putting it on top. But it kind of works because it'll
fall down. Ooh, that looks good. That looks really good.
It tastes really good.
Look how cute that is.
Yeah, I only have like big cubes as well. So
can you taste the whiskey in it still? That's the really important part. Can you still taste the whiskey?
Can. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
The rosemary works really well with whiskey. Like it's both, but they both kind of balance each other.
Yeah. I like basil with whiskey too, but basil's almost too delicate sometimes. I almost prefer basil when I infuse a simple syrup with it, just because simply as a garnish, I get the aroma, but I don't get a lot of the flavor. Rosemary, I think, is a little bit heftier, and it comes through. It has enough of a contrast from the whiskey that can really come through when you build it in a drink.
And you said that orange might be good in this as well with the watermelon?
I think so, just a little bit, like maybe quarter ounce, half ounce. That might be a nice contrast with the sweet of the watermelon.
I'm going to try it just because I've already tried this drink like this. And I'm curious.
Yeah.
Bourbon soaked watermelon is really good.
Like that.
Bourbon soaked most things is pretty good.
Yeah.
That is also true. We all know that's true, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, I can honestly say this is the first time I've had bourbon soaked watermelon. So
Nice.
But it won't be the last, will it?
No.
I like
especially with summer coming, because this is really refreshing. And I know people always are, watermelon margaritas. That's a big thing in the summer. Well, screw your margaritas. Nothing against your margaritas, but.
Well, what you could do is freeze your watermelon in chunks and put it in a blender with bourbon and a little bit of orange liqueur, and it'll end up kind of tasting like, if you put maybe a little lemon juice in it, it'll be kind of like a daiquiri.
Consistency is a frozen, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I also recently saw a recipe for popsicles that had whiskey in them. So now I'm thinking about, like you said, like a watermelon mint whiskey popsicle. I mean, how good would that taste? Wouldn't that taste good?
That tastes really good.
That would be really good. I bet you, though, that's now when it comes to freezing, that does present a challenge, because you can't really freeze high proof alcohol. It just doesn't work. So is it, if it's concentrated, I guess if it's in that cocktail smoothie form, it should be not bad, but who knows, right?
Yeah, I'd have to get an Excel spreadsheet out basically and figure out the proof of the cocktail once I put everything in together, like, with this many grams of watermelon, how much does that dilute the whiskey? And is the whiskey low enough proof that it will actually freeze.
Right.
So it would take math and Excel spreadsheets. So obviously I haven't done that yet, but it is on my list of things to do this summer, especially if I still can't work.
I feel like we need Daniel Whittington in here. He's like
He's the king of
guru.
spreadsheets.
He's the king of spreadsheets. He loves his spreadsheets.
He'd be able to. He'd set us up, wouldn't he?
He would, or he would be. I think he might be on board with something if it, cocktails. If it meant having cocktail spreadsheets,
any kind of spreadsheets, and that man would be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Now, one other thing with this kind of cocktail is you can actually just dump the whole thing into a glass. I like to strain mine because I don't like little bits of pulp in it. But really, you can make a smash, like I said, in the glass itself. Like you said, you could have a smash bar at a party. Once we can have parties again, and
yes.
and set up, a couple bouquets of herbs, like a bouquet of mint and because everybody's garden is overgrown with basil in the summer, right? It goes crazy. So have mint and basil, and your rosemary bush is going to be going crazy too. So just set those out with maybe 5 or 6 different fruits and say, hey, you guys, here's how you do it. Step 1, choose your fruit. Step 2, choose your herb. Step 3, muddle. 4, add whiskey. There you go.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and people love that kind of experience because you get to make something that's your own. I mean, you can give a couple of suggestions, like I would do peach rosemary, but strawberry basil works. Or actually, what really was good last night, I had some lavender simple syrup, and I did blueberry and lavender simple syrup with a little bit of lemon, like just a quarter of a lemon. And
lemon and lavender are just so good.
Oh, it was such a good combination, you guys. I had to make a second one, and I wasn't even supposed to be doing smashes. I was supposed to be working on mid juleps, but I'm like, oh man, this is so good.
So speaking of tequila, now one of the things I have, and I specifically brought it out for tonight because last time I was like, ooh, this tastes really meaty and interesting. But it's a Canadian whiskey. It's called Bareface, and they have this new one. It's in Canadian whiskey. They are legally allowed to add up to 1/11, so a 10 parts whiskey, 1 part something else.
Mm-hmm.
And it was originally done to be able to give, especially like younger distilleries, an opportunity to make kind of stretch their product. So minimum age is 3 years in Canada, but you could add up to 1/11th part of a 2-year-old spirit or some unaged wine. And so Bareface, they're actually going to, rather than just, do it for the, to stretch out their stock, this is actually being done intentionally for flavor profiles. So this one is 1/11th mezcal.
Ooh. Interesting. So it'll be smoky, right?
Yeah. So it's got this really, like the Bareface in general is already a really oaky, wood forward, bold flavor. It is relatively low, like it's 42.5%, but it's got some really saturated flavors in there. And then it's got that mezcal herbaceous nature to it. So I want it to be, I'm like, this would probably be really good with like cucumber and something. I don't know.
Yeah, cucumber and ginger.
You're talking about tequila. So
cucumber and ginger would work. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I've got
somebody was mentioning that you could freeze. Let's see, Eric Black in the comments, he said you could freeze the muddled fruit into a cube tray. So the muddled fruit that you had, I know. So you take the ice out and put the fruit, which has a little bit of the herbs in it, into a tray. Just put some water over it and freeze it. And then in the summer, when you serve your summer drinks, you have this sort of bourbon or whiskey saturated fruit that you then have in your ice cube trays. I think that's a fabulous idea. Now I'm going to have to buy more ice cube trays. Thanks, Eric.
You can get like a 3-pack at the dollar store. So
exactly.
Yes. Actually, I got some really nice. They actually make because I'm using them now, but they're. Oh. I got the ice cube trays at the freaking dollar store, and they make like 2-inch freaking sized.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, I was so shocked. I'm like, oh my goodness! And they've got the silicone bottoms, so you can like pop them out easy too. It was like,
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you think about this, Heather? I wonder if lemon thyme would pair well with a gin and tonic, specifically the juniper forward gin in a high quality tonic.
That would be fantastic. And a smash does not have to be whiskey. And smash can be any spirit. It was originally built to use whatever spirit you had and whatever seasonal fruit you had. So it would be, I think that would be a fabulous flavor combination.
Yeah. So I was thinking as well, and I saw that Donald posted that I'm like, oh, I've got gin. And I've got an actual tonic syrup as well. This is a local distillery I was working with. They make their own tonic syrup. I'm like, yeah, I need to try that.
There you go.
Oh, I have some of that from when I was up there. That's really good stuff.
Right. But what I was thinking, like last year, the Crown Royal Peach liqueur. Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. Sam has it. It was all the rage.
It's my concoction.
Yeah, like so. Let's say you've got those friends who are like, "Ooh, I've got this Crown Peach," and you know what?
That'd be me. I'm that friend.
You are that friend. We love having you. Like I said, best whiskey, the whiskey you like, the way you like to drink it. But
exactly, I will tell you, cinnamon whiskey is how I got my husband to drink bourbon after 5 years.
Wow,
5 years. 5 years. Yeah. And now he drinks bourbon neat. It's awesome.
That's what education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
I was thinking something like this. I mean, really, for somebody who's maybe, well, I drink the Crown Peach and I really like that. Is this a way to be able to say, oh, well, you want like this, artisanal, custom, do your own. I'm like, ooh, I don't even need Crown Peach. I've got peach and whiskey and it's all mixed together and I did it.
Yeah, and they don't know. I mean, and then you could even tell them it's got, you could put a little bit of the Crown Peach oil in it, so it's got a flavor that they recognize, and then build some more whiskey in it with the peach. And to them, they'll probably taste the Crown Peach oil more than the actual whiskey, but they'll realize, oh, I'm drinking whiskey too.
Yeah. So one of the things that I thought I would bring up and ask about is that during the summer, especially, I mean, it's all year round, but you see these nice fancy little jars in the store of flavored moonshines. And moonshine is your unaged whiskey, and it's usually lower proof, but it's nice, cocktail flavors. To do something like a smash with something like this, like an apple pie shine, I mean, really, you wouldn't need as much simple syrup, right? Like you just kind of play with it, because these liqueurs and and I guess the peach Crown, I haven't actually tried it myself, so I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's more of a liqueur type, right? So it's already got some of that sugar sweetness, right? So do you just back that off then, or what would you recommend?
What I usually do in that case is I back the simple syrup off to about a half ounce, and start with a half ounce of whatever flavoring liqueur I'm putting in, and I build it up or adjust it from there. A lot of times when I'm playing with flavors, I'll put in maybe a half ounce first just to see, and then taste it before I dilute it and see if it's got enough of the right flavors that I'm tasting, knowing that once you dilute it with ice and water, it's going to get a little bit sweeter and the flavors are going to even out. They're kind of smooth out a little bit. But if I don't have the right balance when I'm actually got it in the glass or in the shaker before I actually dilute it, I will often adjust it. But I adjust it and I'm keeping track in my head. Okay, I started with a half ounce. I need a little more. Let's put a quarter ounce in. Okay, so that's a 3/4 ounce. But I like to be able to repeat my cocktails. So I'm always keeping track in my head of how much I have of everything in there so I can write it down so I remember for later if I need to make it again.
I'll tell you what, this thing would be very dangerous on a hot summer day.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
They're very easy to drink. Yeah.
So I've also got some cantaloupe over here.
Okay.
And we can do with that. Oh, it looks like I've got I've got pineapple as well.
I have pineapple.
What would pineapple and cantaloupe taste like together? Do you think that would be, because cantaloupe's a little bit kind of musky, but pineapple's really bright and sweet. Do you think that flavor would go well together with some mint?
I'm worth trying it. I mean, I'll drink it. I'll definitely try it.
Let's do it. I have pineapple, but I don't have the melon. So I think I'm going to let you guys do that and tell me how it is, because I don't have any melon right now.
I don't have any melon either, but I do have pineapple. So, Sam,
so I did pineapple with thyme this week as a savory kind of match between the two, and it worked out really well.
So, am I putting lemon in this or no?
Which one are you doing with the cantaloupe and pineapple?
Yeah.
You probably need just a little bit, probably maybe one lemon wedge, just because the pineapple's super sweet and the cantaloupe's going to be really sweet. You need something kind of acidic to balance that out. So I would.
Okay. We get this fruit out here.
So Sam, what have you got aside from the crown peach there? I saw you holding on. I saw you had that. But what else have you got?
I did my last one. My kids had mandarin oranges. So my husband worked all day today, so I didn't get to go to the grocery. We're not allowed to take our kids to the grocery store right now. So I had to just go with what I had, and I didn't have a lot of fruit. So right now I'm doing mandarin oranges, and I mixed that with this random infused bitters that we had upstairs that had never been opened before. So I popped those in. I did that, and then I used the Cooper's Craft.
Ooh, nice.
It was actually really good. And then because I love crown peach, I did throw some of that in there too. So it's like
that does sound really good.
Wouldn't be that good, but it is. It is. So I'm going to ride on this train and watch you guys. For now.
Well, I've got other options here. I've got blackberries, blueberries, and strawberries, or I can build we can talk about highballs too, which are awesome for the summer, which you just build in the glass. If you want me to do a quick highball, I mean, it's basically whiskey. And if you want to do something flavored, you can put a little fruit in the bottom, add some flavored liqueur, and then you pour your whiskey in and give it a little bit of a swirl with some carbonated water, and you've got a cocktail.
Do it.
Is there
like
maybe like a cherry whiskey? Like I'm just thinking like cherry Coke, but if you didn't have cherry Coke, all you had was like
cherries,
moonshine cherries, and Coke.
Yes. So I actually did a coffee cherry smash this week, which was by far my favorite.
Oh my goodness!
I know.
I have my Kahlua here. Do I need Kahlua for that?
Oh my God, it is so good. You guys. So what I did to make it, I defrosted some cherries. I put them in the bottom of the glass and muddled them. And I put a half ounce of cherry liqueur and a half ounce of coffee liqueur. I also had some coffee syrup that I put in there. And then I put a couple ounces of whiskey. And I shook it up. And I had no idea that cherries and coffee would be such a fantastic combination. It was unreal.
You got me here. All right. So how much cherry syrupy stuff should I have? Like an ounce?
Half ounce. You don't need much, because do you have cherries or just cherry syrup?
I've got moonshine cherries, but I also have the syrup that they came in.
Put a combination of the cherries and about an ounce of cherries and syrup in the bottom to start with, and then maybe put a couple cherries on top. And then if you have coffee liqueur like Kahlua.
Yeah,
Kahlua is great. I should tell you guys about this one. If you are a big coffee drinker, this Patron XO Cafe has rocked my world when I'm using it with cocktails. It has a really vibrant, strong, almost espresso coffee flavor, and it's a little bit more bitter than Kahlua. The base, of course, is going to be agave spirits, tequila, instead of rum, which is what I believe Kahlua is. So if you like Kahlua, you will love this stuff. It makes really good cocktails. But you were talking about using Coke and cherry. So what you could do is you could actually make simple syrup out of Coke. You just do a reduction of Coca-Cola on the stove for, 15, 20 minutes until it reduces by a third or a half until it's this really thick syrup. And then if you need to add sugar, you can add a little bit of sugar to it. And then you can use those two things. And if you need to, put a little bit of soda or a little bit of Coke on top of it, and that'll build your highball. But that's another way you can make a cherry Coke. So you could put your cocktail cherries in the bottom, a little bit of that syrup, mush it up just a little bit, and then fill it up with Coke if you wanted to make that a riff on a highball, basically.
Oh my goodness, that sounds...
Doesn't that sound good?
It actually sounds really easy too. Like I think that's one of the things is that like I have a friend and she's like, we need to I can't wait till we can get out to a really good cocktail bar and we can go and somebody can make me a really fancy drink. But you make it feel like it doesn't have to be hard. Like this all sounds really, really easy. Let's just take a bottle of Coke and boil it down by half and then throw that in with some whiskey and cherries in the bottom.
Yeah, and you've got a highball that tastes like an elevated
cherry Coke.
It's an elevated cherry Coke. I mean, it's perfect, right? For this highball, I'm going to have, I put a couple blackberries in the bottom. I've got blackberry liqueur. We have a place near me, Starlight Distillery, that makes this really good blackberry liqueur. So I'm going to put about a half ounce of that in there. And then 2 ounces of Rittenhouse rye.
No,
because I love Rittenhouse.
Put like all this fancy stuff here, and then I forget. I'm like, oh right, there's whiskey too.
Whiskey too.
I feel like, oh my goodness, I've got. All right, I'm gonna see if I can get out from behind my station here because I have a bourbon from Phoenix. When I was down last year, I went for my 40th birthday in January last year, and I'm like, I'm here. I need to buy a local bourbon for no other reason than I want a local bourbon.
That's all the reason you need.
It's a good reason.
I mean, it's a really good reason. So I bought this stuff called Adventurous Stills. And I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. This is local. And then I get it home like, holy crap, I should have bought 2 bottles of this. It's really good. But it's got that really nice, like a coffee kind of a aroma to it. And it's a bourbon, but it's also got like this cherry and coffee. So I'm like, all of a sudden, like, yep, that's going to go in here. The only other thing I would use, but it's upstairs, is my Balcones rye. The 100 proof rye from Balcones has this really rich, dark chocolate and coffee espresso. I'm like,
is it just the regular, the cast strength?
It's the regular. I tried it, and then I tried the cast strength, and I actually preferred the 100 proof over the cast strength, which is weird because I prefer cast strength usually. So, all right, as I like, here's some cleavage shot. Yeah, that's yeah.
All right, so I put in my 2 blackberries, some blackberry liqueur, some whiskey, and some, I think it's some hibiscus LaCroix on top. And it is not super sweet, but it is very citrusy and kind of vibrant. So this is a really good pairing. If you want something more sweet, I would have added some simple syrup maybe to the bottom of it. But for highball, and I could still taste the rye. So I think it's a pretty good combination the way we have things lined up for that.
Okay, this is really good, but it needs a little bit more pineapple.
Can't go wrong with that.
Shit. All right, I just had it. Here it is. Where did I put my whiskey? I've only had 1 cocktail so far, but
remember what happened last time.
You might be looking.
Yeah. Y'all got tanked last time.
There were a lot of cocktails last time.
Losing my shit.
Okay, this is really good.
What did you put in that?
I have
your cantaloupe concoction.
Yes, cantaloupe and pineapple. I put a little bit of mint in it, and I used some Stag Junior because it is very fruity to me. And so it's helping bring out some of that fruit because, like I said, like cantaloupe, it's fruity, but it's kind of on the mellow type of fruit unless you get it real good and it's nice and juicy. But it's really good. I like it a lot.
Which Stag Junior do you have? Do you know what year it is?
I don't know. It's 128.4. So if
mine's 129.4. Okay.
Steve A's in there, he'd be able to tell.
They'll tell you. The chat knows. They always know.
128.4 is the one that I grabbed down. I have another one up there.
I'll be back.
Mine is the 129.5. I think it's from this past year. Yeah. All right. So you like the combination of the pineapple and cantaloupe together?
I do. It actually is. It's really good together.
Yeah.
128.4 is batch 13.
Okay. They do know.
Steve A is the bomb, and he knows everything.
Awesome.
Yeah, Steve A is awesome. I also have some grapes in here, but I don't think they could be muddled very well.
Grapes are kind of hard. They're kind of slippery when you try to muddle them. Yeah. Yeah.
So I put in an order for delivery. So, because I'm not going out, no way, I'm high risk. So I didn't actually get what I wanted. They gave me what they had. So I'm just working with what they gave me.
It's still a good combination.
You've got 2017, 129.5. That's batch 8.
Okay.
2017.
All right.
Mine is 2019.
Okay.
Or
I'm looking at it on the laptop to see what it is.
Yeah, it's the only way I know how to figure them out.
Yeah. You guys were talking about a bar for a smash. Like if you had a party, you could also do a highball bar as well. If you have people that are a little bit less into super sweet drinks, and you could have the same thing, just a bunch of different fruit, a bunch of different mixers. You could do everything from tonic water to different flavored LaCroix to regular, just regular sparkling water. And then just give them some options with garnishes like lime wheels, lemon wheels, any kind of cut fresh fruit. And I put mint in there just to make it pretty. So yeah, you could do the exact same thing. I think smashes are a little bit more fun because they're a little bit sweeter and they have the sour taste and it's a little bit more summery. But a lot of people, highballs are a really classic whiskey drink. It's whiskey and a carbonated topper. And it really, if you don't add a lot of things to it, you can build the elements in there to really let the whiskey shine. And so you can really build a highball based on the particular whiskey you're going to use to bring out elements of that whiskey forward. I like it.
Yeah. Actually, that's what I decided I was going to do with mine. I just added some Perrier on top, and I'm definitely getting that coffee bubblegum, which is something that I normally get out of that Adventurer Stills anyways, is like coffee and bubblegum when I'm drinking it, like double bubble bubblegum.
Yum.
But this is just sort of, now it's in a cocktail and I can just, I added a little bit of lime to it when I put it in the glass, and
it looks good.
I wasn't planning to get really, holy crap, it's already 7:45.
We have too much fun playing with cocktails. That's the problem. I love cocktails because you can convert people to whiskey drinkers. That's the primary reason I even started working with cocktails in the first place, was to get my family and my friends to start, those of them who weren't already in Bourbon Women and drinking whiskey with me. Because the Bourbon Women, we drink bourbon all the time, but those, the other family members around us were like, why are you always going to those bourbon events? And you can really show people how whiskey can be showcased in a drink, and it doesn't have to be something that's completely unpalatable. It's something that you can really build around the whiskey's characteristics, and it's fun.
Steve wants to know, how is this a problem, Heather? It's not a problem.
That my family doesn't want to drink bourbon, or that they do want to drink bourbon. The problem was that they didn't all want to drink it. Okay, so I'll tell you this story. So before my husband started drinking bourbon, at one point he made me count the number of whiskey bottles that we had in the house, and we had about 30 different bourbons. And he's like, that's way too many bourbons. I don't think we really need, do you really need 30 bottles of bourbon? And I'm like, that's not even a big collection. What are you talking about? And he started drinking bourbon, and within like 6 months, we were over 100. I didn't say a word.
It doesn't take long.
It was awesome.
That's what happened here.
It was awesome.
Yeah. William used to only was allowed to get like 1 or 2 bottles, at a time. Got me drinking whiskey, and then, I mean, it blew up quickly. I was like,
exponential.
5 right now, and I need to buy them all.
Yeah. Oh, I go to you go to the store and there's a barrel pick. Oh my God, they have a new barrel pick. Do we need a barrel pick? Yes. Yeah. There's a new Wilderness Trail barrel pick. Do you have it? No. Well, let's get it. There's never any, no, you don't really need that whiskey. It's, well, we haven't tried that yet.
Yep, pretty much. And
it's crazy.
Yeah. That's how ours has grown. Like, oh, I've heard about that. Let's try it. Or, those types of things. Or, oh my God, I've never seen that on the shelf before. And everybody's like, wants it, and it's mine. Yeah. Those types of bottles.
So go ahead.
I was just about to say, this is really good. These are going to be really good come the summer, especially here in Texas, where it is hotter than Hades during the middle of summer. And I'll drink my whiskey. I won't drink it outside. But if I am outside, this would be really good.
And super easy too, right? Like that's. So I wanted to ask you, Sarah, and I know we're getting close to when we were thinking we were probably going to wrap, but back in November when we did our first stream with Heather, you weren't a cocktail drinker. Like you had to beg, borrow, and buy stuff in order to actually try to at home do some of these things along in the stream with making old fashions and such. Have you ventured a little bit more into the cocktail realm since November? Or
not really, no, but the one drink that Heather had me make last time with the ginger liqueur, I did get the stuff for that, and that's in the house, and I'll make those when I'm up for an actual mixed drink, a cocktail.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's a step in the right direction. But the other problem is that we've temporarily run out of room to store said stuff. Like, I've got the liquor cabinet behind me. It is packed full. And then we had to start putting stuff on top of it, and it's running out. So,
we have the same problem.
Huh?
We have the same problem.
Yeah,
we have boxes of alcohol. Yeah.
I need to get another liquor cabinet. And then
it's a good problem to have.
I told William that today. I was just because I was putting stuff away from last night because the whole mini fridge over here was just full of bottles, 7 hours. And I was like, we need another liquor cabinet, man. This is not going to work anymore. We have to pull everything out to get one thing in the back, and horrible problem to have. But so I haven't really bought a whole lot of extras because I don't have any place to put them.
Right. And Sam, the whole premise of your channel is I whiskey, she wines.
Correct.
So I know, last year you guys did that White Claw episode.
We actually did it this year too. We did a part 2 where we did the newest flavors of White Claw.
Oh,
yep.
And with the Bud Light seltzers that also just came out.
What do you think? I haven't tried those.
So I think all around, all of them are better than the first set of White Claws. And I'm a seltzer whore, but I think that the round 2 of the White Claws are definitely better than the first round. And those are watermelon, tangerine, lemon, and mango. And the mango is already out, just not in the sample pack. But now it's in the second sample pack. Those are delicious. And then I found, though, that the Bud Light seltzers have the same calories and carbs, but a lot more flavor than White Claws. And
really?
lemon. The only one I don't care for strawberry out of the Bud Light seltzers. So
there you go.
Imitation strawberry flavor can sometimes be a little wonky, though. I mean, it's sort of like imitation watermelon flavor. You can banana, watermelon, and strawberry. You can really get wrong with the imitation flavors.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you mentioned Heather. You mentioned highballs. Is there something that we could do with whiskey and club soda to kind of get into that White Claw territory? Like I know,
like a whiskey White Claw.
Yeah, like I really enjoy Cocktail Chemistry on YouTube. Nick is he's so cute. He really is.
Really good content. The content is fabulous. Yeah.
He puts up, and he's got that cocktail calculator thing where you can like calculate your alcohol to acid to sugar ratios, etc., for recommendations of proportions. But I mean, since we're doing smashes, I'm thinking, like fresh fruit, whiskey, and club soda, or Perrier, whatever you have. If you have one of those, oh shit, my roommate's got one. Those carbonator thingies.
Oh yeah,
Soda Stream.
Soda Stream,
yes.
Yeah, Soda Stream. And I know that they make one that is specific for cocktails. What's some quick things that we could do with like fresh fruit and herbs that would be sort of in that White Claw-esque with whiskey instead of vodka? Yeah. Any thoughts? I mean, the smash just feels
really
like
anything. I mean, anything that kind of elevates the whiskey flavor. So anything that sort of, to me, has a little bit of that vanilla and that spice, sometimes a little bit of dryness. One thing that I have been using lately is champagne simple syrup with some cocktails. I just take whatever champagne you don't drink, which I know is an oxymoron, like there's never any leftover champagne. But in our house, we're old enough that we're getting headaches if you drink an entire bottle of champagne. So you get maybe a cup left of the champagne, maybe 8 ounces left. You let it go flat. You combine it over very low heat with some sugar, and you get a syrup that's a little bit sour because it has that kind of champagne grape taste to it. But to me, it has a little bit of that dryness. And so I like to use that, like a little bit of champagne simple syrup with some whiskey, and just fill it up with just plain club soda. That gives it a little bit of the sweetness. It'll elevate the oak taste, I think, and the kind of the tannins that I get from champagne. I'm not a big wine or champagne drinker, but those are the notes that I get from it. And just top it with a little bit of club soda or unflavored seltzer water. That will give you some of that same taste. For people that want something more like an old fashioned, you could try a maple syrup. So some whiskey, a little bit of maple syrup, because maple syrup has a little bit more depth to it, a little bit more earthiness. Right. And then do some either regular or flavored syrups, regular or flavored seltzer waters on top of that. I think that would be a good combination as well. I mean, really, the world's your oyster. If you're going to combine carbonation and a little bit of sweetener with whiskey, you could really go anywhere you want to, as long as you're pairing the whiskey with a flavor that's compatible with it.
Makes complete sense.
Yeah. And for anyone who drinks a lot of whiskey, so a lot of times when I build a cocktail, if I know I want to use a particular whiskey, I'll nose the whiskey, I'll taste the whiskey. And when I'm deciding what mixers to use with it, I primarily use aroma or smell. So if I mix a bunch of mixers together, like if I'm going to do a bunch of different liqueurs, I'll make sure everything smells right together with that whiskey. So it looks funny because I'm standing in front of the liquor cabinet with open bottles of whiskey, smelling them. But I'm trying to figure out if together the aroma works, because generally if the aromas work together, the tastes are going to work together as well, because taste is largely aroma driven. So if you try to taste something and you pinch your nose, it's all going to taste either sweet or sour. You're not going to get the nuances that you get from actually smelling and the air with the aromas going, down your throat and into your nose as you drink. So a lot of when you build a cocktail and you're kind of experimenting, a lot of it is just does this smell like it'll go together? For example, so this week is going to be mint julep week. Obviously, April is mint julep month. I don't know if you know that. So on my blog, this is going to be mint julep week. And one of the things I wanted to do, I have this banana liqueur from Giffard, and I wanted to do banana and peanut butter, and I'm going to call it an Elvis julep. And I made one last night, and it was so good. It was ridiculous.
That sounds really good.
It is so good. Yes. And a lot of people, they poo-poo Screwball because it's a flavored whiskey. But I will tell you, I was at a Bourbon Women event last December, and Brent Elliott of Four Roses had never tried Screwball. So one of the people who was working there said, you just need to try it. He's like, no, it's a flavored whiskey. I'm not going to like it. And he tried it, and he took a sip, and he turned to the person next to him. He said, I really didn't want to like this, but you need to try this. So, it's something, it really is. It really tastes like peanut butter. Is it something that's going to build an elevated cocktail? No. Is it going to build a really good cocktail? Yeah, it's actually, it really fits the profile of a liqueur that tastes like peanut butter. And I combined the peanut butter liqueur Screwball with the banana liqueur, and it was so good, you guys.
So we took Screwball. So I have chocolate bourbon cream from Barton that you can only get at Barton.
And you mix so good.
Screwball to almost like an Ohio Buckeye.
Yes.
So good.
Oh my God, that is so good. I also did a peanut butter and chocolate one, but I thought, kind of calling it an Elvis julep would be a little bit more fun.
Right.
So I also have a caramel liqueur that I just got. It's based on the Stroop waffle cookies that are the little waffles that have a layer of caramel between. Exactly. So I get them at Trader Joe's because they have them at Trader Joe's around Christmas. No. So I tried the Stroop waffle with a little bit of bourbon cream liqueur from Buffalo Trace and just a little bit of regular bourbon and a little bit of chocolate bourbon. And it tasted like a chocolate covered caramel Long John, like the donut. Yeah. But it was so good. But so if you want, I can demo a mint julep real quick if you want, because mint julep's obviously summer drink. Do you have mint?
I have mint. Sarah, do you have mint?
I do have mint.
All right, so let's make a real quick mint julep. So a mint julep, let me get my mixing glass. So you do not have to do this in a mixing glass. If you want to, you can build this in your actual, your glass as well. I'm going to use bourbon because it's mint julep month and we're in Kentucky, even though the Derby is not running until August, or September 5th, actually September 5th, which we are all really... Personally, I'm going to spend the day baking Derby pie, drinking mint juleps, because it's going to be the first Saturday in May, and I have to celebrate somehow. But we're just going to get through it. That's all I'm going to say.
You're going to get through
it.
So
I'm going to use. Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you because Kentucky in here too. So we're sad up here in the northern part.
Yeah, you understand. So I'm going to put a little bit of fancy stuff. I'm going to make a blackberry mint julep because I have the blackberries. So I'm going to use 1.5 ounces of bourbon, a 1/2 ounce of blackberry liqueur. If you guys have, do y'all have any kind of fun liqueurs or fun simple syrups that you want to use for this?
I only have the orange and the ginger.
I have a cardamom orange. I have a regular. I've also got like all my bitters. So I know I can add flavor. So I've got like a saffron, mango, curly rose.
Well, ginger is an excellent liqueur. So I would do 1.5 ounces of bourbon and a 1/2 ounce of ginger.
Oh, I've got a ginger syrup.
That'll work. All right. So put a 1/2 ounce of simple syrup in there and then 2 ounces of bourbon. Or if you've got the ginger liqueur, do 1.5 ounces of bourbon, a 1/2 ounce of the ginger liqueur, and a little bit of simple syrup if you have it. I actually have some blackberry simple syrup.
I've got blueberries and raspberries. Should I use a little bit of blueberry and raspberry instead of blackberry?
That would be good. Yeah.
Okay.
I would choose one or the other. I wouldn't do both though.
You wouldn't do both? Okay.
Only because
Let's
I
do
like to taste
raspberry.
either one or the other. I think if you mix them together, you might not be able to tell which one you put in there.
Right. All right. So just like a half a dozen ish.
Yeah.
Heavy on the ish.
Okay, so I got my whiskey. I used some wild turkey because Derby, Kentucky, whatever.
Yeah.
Some rare breed, and I got my ginger liqueur.
All right, perfect.
I got my 1792 bottled in bond.
Oh, Barton's. Oh, good. That's
Barton's.
Bardstown. So, yeah, total Kentucky there. I've got a couple of defrosted blue blackberries. I'm just going to toss in there because I have them.
Okay. And were you doing, 1 ounce or 2 ounces of the whiskey?
If you're going to use a liqueur in that as well, use 1.5 ounces and taste it and see if it's okay.
Okay.
If you need more, up it to 2 ounces. It'll depend on the proof of your whiskey. So if you need to bump up the proof so you can still taste the whiskey, go ahead and do that.
All right. It's the BNB, so it's 50%. So I should be okay.
You'll probably be okay. Yeah.
And it's Barton's, so
Yeah.
All right, so I got my fruit, I've got my ginger simple syrup, and I got my whiskey. What else do I need in here?
Simple syrup, ginger, whiskey. If you want to put some mint leaves in there, because you're going to stir it out, express them. So I don't know if you guys know this. So if you're going to put the mint leaves in your mint julep, like as you mix it, what I generally do is I spank it a little bit against my palm, which we'll do again when we do the garnish. And I like to pull them off and tear them up a little bit just before I put them in there to stir. Because I have fresh fruit, I'm probably going to shake mine. Generally, I would stir a mint julep because I'm not going to put a whole lot of fresh stuff in it. So if it's just liqueurs in there, you can just stir it. You don't need to shake it.
Yeah, I don't have fruit in mine. I do have orange liqueur, but
yeah, so you can just stir yours. I'm going to shake mine just because I've got.
How much mint are we putting in?
I put in about 8 leaves.
Oh, okay, I think I'm good.
But I like mine with a lot of mint flavor to it. Hang on, let me turn this off so you don't have to hear it.
I don't know what size her leaves are. My leaves are kind of small.
You got big ass leaves?
My leaves are kind of small.
Oh, well, I don't know, 8 to 10 ish. Heavy on the ish.
It's fine.
Oh, I got a big one.
No,
wait,
generally.
Oh wait, I need to add do I need? I wonder, should I be like adding the ice before I stir, or do I stir and then add the ice?
You do want to put. Okay, so if you're gonna strain it out into your julep cup, go ahead and add the ice and then stir it because you want the ice to help dilute it while you do it.
I did it in the glass. If I'm building in the glass, should I put the ice in while I'm stirring?
Yeah, go ahead and do that. It'll help dilute it a little bit, and then taste it. Make sure it tastes okay. I am going to go ahead and smash this up and technically make a real julep where you crack the ice. So hang on with me. I'm going to turn off I'll turn on the mute so you don't have to hear it.
I ain't even going to lie. I'm going to get more of a buzz during this hour than I did yesterday during 7.
I know, right?
I'm making drinks with 2 ounce pours, 1.5 ounce pours, and like
I'm trying not to drink all of the things that I'm making, but I'm failing miserably.
But they're so good. How can you not drink them?
I found with these ones that you make in the glass, and you can only fill so much. And you get down to the end, if you take it and you smash it all some more, you get more liquid out of it. You make your drink last longer.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have got my mint julep cup filled with ice. I just cracked with my handy dandy mallet.
Yes, Steve, it does. Make it so easy to drink faster.
Oh yeah.
Which is another reason why I don't generally drink a lot of cocktails because I have to adults sometimes too. But let's see. So I've got my ice. I've got everything in there. It's all stirred up. I'm done. I'm ready to go.
All right. So then you can strain it into your ice-filled glass, and then what you can do if you want, you can take a little bit of the mint leaves, kind of rub them a little bit, and rub them around the edge of it real quick, which I should have done before I poured it, but I've had a couple cocktails.
That happens.
We are not.
I'm sorry.
You for that.
Sorry, not sorry.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And so then you're just going to I only have one little bit of mint left. So you're just going to put your mint sprig in there. And then I have tiny little cocktail straws that don't match the cup because they're copper, not silver. And you put the straw right next to the mint. That's very important because when you take a sip from the straw, you want to be able to smell the mint coming towards your face. So
it smells so
this
good.
is really good. This is so good.
I love blackberry juleps. They're so good. The combination of the mint with the tartness from the blackberry is a really nice combination for me. Tell me what you guys think of what you made.
I like it. I like it a lot. This is refreshing in itself too. So
yes,
Well,
the cherry essence, like I get the 1792 is really a cherry forward bourbon. Mm-hmm. So the cherry with the raspberry and the mint, I mean, it's like a fruity dentine with alcohol.
Are you getting the mint as you sip it? Are you getting some of the mint?
Yeah.
Okay. Some people will make a mint simple syrup for mint juleps. Like if I were just doing straight up bourbon and simple syrup, I would generally make a mint simple syrup. And you can do it a couple different ways. A lot of people just put some fresh mint after they've warmed up the water and the sugar together. They just put the fresh mint in it and let it steep for 20 or 30 minutes until it cools down and then strain it out. Some people like to put it in a blender so that it's bright green. But if you're going to mix it with bourbon, you're not really going to have that vibrancy come through, especially if you're going to serve it in a traditional julep cup. I mean, it's metal and you're not going to get that bright green color out of it. Yeah.
Well, see, and that's, I'm only really just kind of realizing this now. I didn't put any sweetener of any kind into. All right, no, I did. Sorry, that's right. I put some of my ginger simple syrup in. Never mind. I'm like, wow, this tastes really sweet. I didn't put any sweetener in it. No, I did. I put ginger simple syrup in. I've been drinking. Don't listen to anything I say.
You're on your third cocktail. It's okay.
I'm my third double-ish-esque.
This is really good. I enjoy this a lot. William's come out and tasted all three that I've made so far, and he's enjoyed all three as well. So
has he? Well, yeah. I think that the one thing about the julep is we think about it only as a cocktail for May and for the Derby, but really it is the perfect summer cocktail because it's sweet, it's minty, so it's got a kind of refreshing aroma to it, but it's also something that is endlessly customizable. So you can make it with different kinds of flavors to, make your own mark. I mean, it's basically something you can customize to what you love or what you want your guests to experience. And it's something that's super easy. I mean, the hardest thing about it is the cracked ice. And if you don't mind just using cubes instead of ice, you just fill it full of ice cubes. It does the same thing.
Yeah, my fridge makes chopped ice, so close enough.
I've been thinking about getting, what is it? Is it a Lewis? No, it's not a Lewis bag. What is it? What's the bag called?
Oh, the canvas bag? Oh,
yeah. The bag and the mallet. Anyways, I've been thinking about
I don't know. But I will tell you, this mallet has saved my butt this week doing smashes because they all require cracked ice. Right. And I will say that using the mallet with clear ice. So I make my own clear ice in the freezer. So I take a small, like a 6-pack cooler and I fill it with water and then I let it sit overnight for about 24 hours and then I cut it all up into large chunks. But if I use that to actually crack, it melts a lot slower than the refrigerator ice that I get out of my fridge. So like this ice that I have in the mint julep now will take much longer time to melt and dilute than it would for my port peach smashes. Very much diluted at this point.
That's the molds that you can get that make the circle ice molds.
Yes.
They last longer for, pouring whiskey over. Yeah.
The surface area.
Yeah. William just
it makes a difference.
find a really minty rye that would enhance this the mint julep further.
Yes, and I made sure to have rye handy as well in case I needed it.
I mean, I got some.
I would probably do a Willet rye. I mean, do you all get mint notes out of Willet? Because when I drink Willet, I get a lot of herbaceousness and mintiness.
For me, it has to be an older rye to get mint. Otherwise, I get pickle. So, and I don't want to throw that off because a pickled julep doesn't sound appealing.
No, but a rye, like a pickly rye with something with cucumber and mint.
That might work.
Or a little bit of lemon.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Like that would go great in a smash. If you use a little bit of lemon, a little bit of cucumber in a smash, or you could make a cucumber simple syrup. So you could cut a bunch of cucumber and let it sit overnight in some simple syrup water, and it'll kind of absorb the taste of, if you look on the Bourbon Women YouTube channel, Nicole Stipp, who owns Treble Bar in Louisville, has a tutorial of how to make this cucumber syrup that she uses for some of the cocktails. They have an adult lemonade stand while the quarantine is going on. And she basically cuts up the cucumber, puts it in a mint simple syrup, and lets it steep overnight. And the next day you can take out the cucumber and you get left this beautiful, like cucumber essence simple syrup that you could use for something like that.
See, you had me at, adult lemonade stand.
That's what they're calling it. So they are a pub and don't serve food. So in Kentucky, I don't know if you guys probably don't know this, but in Kentucky, unless you serve food, you can't sell to-go cocktails. So they're selling everything you need but the alcohol to go with their cocktails. So on Fridays, every other week, you can go and you can purchase a set that makes it's between 4 and 6 cocktails, and they'll tell you with this mixer you should use either whiskey or tequila or whiskey and rum or anything your heart desires. And they're always very fun and pithy names of the actual cocktails and descriptions. What they're doing is amazing. So if you guys don't follow them on Instagram, you absolutely should. It's Treble Bar Lou is what their Instagram channel is, and it's lots of fun.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah,
check them out.
Awesome. Wow. Don't mind me. I'm digging for a glass. I
right.
dug up a rye that what it says is really minty. And I'm kind of curious.
That was so
Which rye did you decide was really minty? Wait, which one?
What was that, Theresa?
Oh, no, it was Heather that asked.
Oh, Heather. Sorry?
Oh, yeah. What rye did you decide was really minty? I'm sorry, my sound cut out for a second. Which one did you decide was pretty minty?
Apparently, I misunderstood him. He said this one was pickle forward.
Oh, so we need a cucumber. I'm sorry. I know that we were going to try and keep this to an hour because somebody else goes on.
There are other people.
There's a lot of people.
I mean, I don't know. If I'm cool. I have one more empty highball glass that I am willing to put a cocktail in for those that want to stick around and make more cocktails or talk about cocktails or watch us get sloshed and smashed on cocktails. But yeah, I don't know. Do we need
there's
to?
A lot of lives.
Yeah, there's everybody. You know what? Everybody does live these days. So,
well, we don't have a choice.
If we just keep going, I mean, it's 1:15. Do we just keep going, or do we want to actually shut it down?
You know what? There are 12 people in the chat right now, and
they're all saying keep going.
they're saying keep going. If somebody wants to come back and watch the replay and find out some good cocktails to make for the summer or whatever, it'll be there for them to do. We can make a couple more or just whatever.
So I mean, I know that Sarah and Sam are probably not on board with this, but
with what?
The fuck is that?
This is the Octomore.
Fuck you.
That's Octomore.
Fuck you, Theresa.
I kind of want to put it out there, because I mean,
trying to make
during the summer, like bourbon is, and even your fruity scotches and your ryes are definitely, they're easy to go to, right? I mean, just on their own or as a cocktail, it's easy to find those kinds of things for summer-esque refreshing things.
Right.
And I'm kind of, we hadn't talked about this before the stream. Is there anything that we could do with a smoky whiskey for those of us who likes our smoky whiskeys, like the Octomore, as a cocktail for the summer? I mean, I've been playing around with penicillins a little bit myself, using mead. So we've actually got a pretty hefty honey industry locally. And so we have like ginger infused meads and such like that. To do so riffs on, honey with ginger and whiskey, and then some smoky scotch or smoky whiskey in there. Any tips on using smoky whiskeys during the summer? I just feel like personally it goes with barbecue. So
not even that. There's smoky bourbons out there too.
Yeah, I will tell you, I love smoky whiskeys with an old fashioned. And I know people think about old fashions as winter drinks, but over ice, a smoky old fashioned, which is a little bit of honey syrup or maybe like a peach syrup, something that has a little bit of citrus and a little bit of sweet. I think that really kind of brings out the oakiness of the whiskey. So I personally have been playing with mezcal and cocktails lately. I made I called it the taco truck old fashioned the first week that I did quarantine tacos. Quarantine cocktails. I did taco fashion. Right. So it has tequila, and then it also has a little bit of mezcal in it. I chose a mezcal. I'm not a huge peat fan, but I wanted a little bit of that smoke, and then I used Hella Bitters has a smoked chili bitters, and so I used those bitters in there with a little bit of just plain Demerara simple syrup, just for an old fashioned. And I think that something like that, even though a lot of people think of an old fashioned as a winter drink or a fall drink, I think over the rocks, something that's smoky still kind of works for the summer.
Yeah.
Do it.
For Sam, I mean, Sam, isn't like the one of the intro videos for your channel you tasting Lafroig 10 or something?
This is not Lafroig level. No, it's not Ardbeg or Lafroig. We're not talking about that. No.
My fourth whiskey my husband ever made me try. So for anybody, like if you've not followed us from the get-go, my first drink of actual whiskey was our first YouTube video. So I had never had it before that. And we've literally gone down the journey. Now that asshole husband of mine, my fourth one I ever tried was Lagavulin 16. And that's
just mean. That's just mean.
It's mean, right? It's mean.
No, that is.
It has I think it might have hit 20,000 views. It's by far our best video. And I mean, like
the words that come out of Sam's mouth make it the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, something else you could do with a smoky, like if you wanted to have a peated, anything that was like super peated, or if you wanted to add some smoky scotch to a bourbon or whiskey cocktail, anything that has a super sweet base, I think will balance that out. Like you mentioned, Theresa, anything like a penicillin, any kind of cocktail that has like sort of honey in it with that smoke would be a good pair. Another pair that I think is interesting that many people may not be on board with would be something that would be an Earl Grey kind of taste. So something with that bergamot level with it, with the smoke, to me is very interesting because the herbaceousness of the Earl Grey with the smoke, they don't cancel each other out, but they kind of pair well in my palate. I don't know if a lot of people would enjoy it, but to me, it's a very The herbaceousness of the Earl Grey kind of calms down the smokiness, but it still lets that smoke in and that oakiness flavor kind of drive the cocktail.
Nice. So I actually have, and we talked a little bit about those moonshine and whiskey liqueurs. Sugarland Shine, and this I've had it now for like 4 years, but it is a sweet tea moonshine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, ooh, maybe that with some Octomore. I hadn't thought about like Earl Grey and those herbaceous tea notes, or maybe even that with my mezcal infused Canadian whiskey from Bareface.
I would try it because the Earl Grey flavors to me are not overwhelming. They marry well. I would say they marry well with the slight smokiness of mezcal. Now, do they marry well with Lafroig, Ardbeg? I haven't tried it with a much heavier smoke flavored whiskey, right. But with that lighter sort of mezcal taste that you get, I do like that combination. And honestly, with Earl Grey, either I infuse the whiskey with Earl Grey itself. So I take a couple cups of whiskey, put a bag of Earl Grey in there I basically dip the Earl Grey in really hot water first and then plop it right in the whiskey and infuse it anywhere from 6 to 24 hours. Or I make a Earl Grey tea and use that as a base for a simple syrup. So those are the kind of the two ways that I sort of use Earl Grey to infuse things. Right. Both of those things go well, I think, with the mezcal kind of smoke flavor. Right. I'm not sure everybody would agree, but it's an interesting experiment.
I'm going to get dangerous here because I have Octomore and I have a mezcal whiskey blend, and I have a sweet tea moonshine. So I feel like I'm already bordering on the 3 sheets kind of thing right now. So my apologies to those.
How's your palate?
Yes. So I'm going full sail. I'm going from 3 sails to full sheets. Like this is just going to be
yay Sunday.
This is going to be interesting. So y'all keep talking. Sarah,
William handed me a couple of sample bottles that we have over there of rye. We have sample bottles coming out everywhere. Thanks, Matt. And he handed me a Pikesville rye, and I'm gonna go ahead and try this julep with the Pikesville rye as opposed to the Wild Turkey Rare Breed. So
is this the ginger julep? The one with ginger in it?
The ginger, yeah.
I want to hear what you think about that, because I really like the Pikesville rye with ginger, because the Pikesville to me is spicy, but Pikesville is just, it's just barely a rye. It's basically Rittenhouse with a little bit higher proof. I believe it's the same mash bill as Rittenhouse. So I really want to hear what you think, actually, because do you have any candy? You don't happen to have any candied ginger around, because candied ginger is a beautiful garnish for,
no, I don't. I'm not that fancy.
I spent a lot of time at Trader Joe's lately, so I really like they have candied chunk ginger, which is really nice to use. Actually, I love Manhattans with a little bit of ginger liqueur and a little bit of Amaro in them, like a black Manhattan. And so I'll use the candied ginger. A black Manhattan? Have you had a black Manhattan before?
No, I'm curious. Black Manhattan, you've got me.
So usually it uses an Amaro. My favorite Amaro to use for a black Manhattan is Foro, Foro, and it is one that Victor's uses a lot for their Manhattans. When they do black Manhattans at their distillery or when I've done events, they a lot of times use Foro Amaro.
I do like
Foro. Do you like Amaros?
No, I like Michter's. I've never had Amaros.
I like Michter's. I have an Amaro. I don't use it as much as I should, and it's the wildlife Amaro.
It's the wildlife one, yeah. That's a good one. It does. Oh, I didn't realize it had meat in it. So for a black Manhattan, I'm a big fan because I love Amaro. I love bitter flavors. And the Furrow Amaro to me is very chocolatey and very coffee forward. So building a Manhattan with Amaro instead of just straight sweet vermouth makes it a much more bitter, a much more rounded flavor. Some people don't prefer black Manhattans because they are so bitter, but to me that makes it almost more interesting.
Interesting.
All right, Sam's back.
I'm back. Sorry.
So, I mean, I noticed, Sam, and I know you mentioned this earlier, that you did switch over to your wine. What are you actually drinking tonight?
Oh, it's box wine. It's Vela. It's $17.99 for 34 glasses.
For 34 glasses.
But you were
So it comes in
drinking
a
your
box?
Crown Peach.
I have the Crown Peach right here too.
You're drinking
I
your Crown Peach
like
earlier.
Crown Peach with lemonade. That is I have tried it with a bunch of different things. I actually like it with lemonade better than I like it with tea.
Really?
Both are really good. I mean, like either one, but I prefer I'll get the because I'm diabetic, I get the sugar-free lemonade mixed with the Crown Peach, less carbs, and it is on point. It's good with tea, unsweet tea too, but I like it better with lemonade.
This is excellent.
So your favorite?
Tell me more.
The minty spiciness of the actual rye brings out the ginger and the mint more, but it doesn't tamp down the actual whiskey. Now, I should go ahead and clarify, I'm not a rye drinker because most of the time it's pickle. And I don't like pickle in my glass. I like pickle in my fridge, on my sandwiches, on my burgers, but not in my glass. So if you find the right rye that has that spicy minty, spearmint, whatever mint you get off of it, most of the time I get spearmint off of a older rye. Perfect with the ginger in the mint to make it drink. I like it a lot. It's really refreshing.
That's awesome.
William liked it too as he passed by and grabbed my glass and took a drink.
I am a huge fan of ginger and the ginger whiskey cocktail, simply because I think ginger's spiciness can sometimes pair well with the oakiness of whiskey, depending on the particular whiskey that you choose. But I do really love whiskey. Like I will make and usually keep whiskey ginger simple in the refrigerator as well.
Yeah, I really like the ginger. And you know, I thank you for that because you're the one that had suggested, hey, when we did this last time, hey, see if you have this, and this. And like Theresa said, I scavenged for what I could find, and Matt was gracious to give me a bunch of samples of stuff. And that ginger just stuck out to me, and I've actually brought it to some other people's attention about the ginger, and kind of turned them on to ginger and whiskey as well. So
I think there's something about the spice element in ginger that works really well with the spice element in a lot of whiskeys. Like that barrel note, it just goes really well with whiskey and with ginger. Yeah.
And something else, if you like the ginger taste, something else you might think about is a peppercorn simple syrup. So if you create a simple syrup and you put peppercorns in it instead of maybe sliced ginger, you can use the peppercorn spice to kind of heat up the simple syrup so you get the sweet and the heat. Those two together can be a really interesting combination in cocktails as well, especially something like an old fashioned, or if you just put a tiny bit, maybe a teaspoon or two in a Manhattan, it can heat up the Manhattan, giving you a little bit more spice. And so if you have a rye Manhattan that's spice forward anyway, and you put a little bit of that peppercorn simple syrup in it, not much, because with a Manhattan, you don't want to make it too sweet. That can also be a really interesting combination.
Well, and that's what I was just showing. Like that was the one that I opened tonight was the sumac and pink peppercorn simple syrup from Porter's Tonic, which is it's not a tonic. It doesn't have quinine in it. It is just an infused simple syrup. But I'm like, ooh. So what I did is I took, where is it here? I've got my, oh, no, not my apple pie shine.
And there's
I've
There's
lost
the cat.
track of
That's
where
Arlo the
my,
asshole. So there you go.
I have lost track of where my bottles are. I have my sweet tea shine. I did about 1.5 ounces of that. I did about a 1 ounce of my mezcal blended Canadian whiskey from Bareface.
Okay.
And I added about a 3/4 ounce pour of my Octomore 10-year. I've got cucumber in the glass, and so I've added a sprig of basil. I spanked it. I like that.
Good.
I don't have kids. I do not have kids, but I just like the idea of spanking my basil. That's going to be the thing. Like, spank your mitt, spank your basil.
You do? I'm serious. That's what it's called. It's called spanking your mitt. It really is. Yeah.
It is. And so then now I've just added a bar spoonful of my sumac and pink peppercorn simple syrup to that. Smells good. Oh, I like that. That is it's far more savory than anything else I've done tonight. Like, everything else has had a real sweet with that fruity element, but going with the cucumber. I mean, even like the raspberry and the mint julep gave it that really fruity essence. This is I like this.
You better write that down. At least we have it recorded.
I always come back.
But I mean,
always come back to it.
I could see this. I mean, if you didn't have the Octomore 10-year, because instead of the Octomore 10-year, I bet you my Lefroy Glore, or not Lore. I have Quarter Cask. That's the one I have. Lefroy Quarter Cask, or really any of your basic entry level Islas. If you didn't have the Octomore 10-year.
So I'm actually going back and forth between, I've got the rare breed and ginger, and I've got the Pikesville and ginger. And I'm going back and forth. And honestly, the Pikesville and ginger is actually, to me, would be a more refreshing drink. It's really good. That spearmint just kind of gets you from the inside out. You know, it's almost like you use spearmint mouthwash, for instance, except it doesn't have that mouthwash taste behind. It has a whiskey taste. I like this one a lot compared to the rare breed. Don't get me wrong, the rare breed's good too, but yeah.
One of the best things that I have fun with when I talk with people who are whiskey drinkers who drink cocktails is they're able to really kind of parse the different flavors that are happening in the cocktail, which a lot of people who drink cocktails are just for the overall flavor, but people who drink whiskey neat, they really understand how to look at the underlying flavors and how they build a flavor profile together. And so what I think is so interesting about doing this kind of experiment with you guys, if you can call it an experiment, because we really are experimenting with what we have, the whiskeys and the flavors that we have, we're building cocktails. What is interesting is that you can really talk about why one whiskey works better than another with the cocktail because of the underlying flavors of the whiskey paired with the different mouthfeels that you get from what you're using to build both the cocktail and the whiskey mouthfeel itself. So that to me is fascinating, to work with people who aren't just used to drinking cocktails. You're used to drinking whiskey neat, or in Sam's case, trying this whiskey neat and seeing if you even like it, versus wine, because wine has a completely different way of tasting and a completely different way of evaluating how it tastes and how it feels in your mouth than whiskey. And so to me, talking with Sam as well about this, it's not just how does the whiskey feel, but how does everything feel together as a cocktail when you build it? It's not just does it taste good, but does it work together? I mean, to me, that's what's interesting more than just, is it a cocktail that someone will think tastes good? Does it work together well? Does it play well as you drink it?
Right. And don't get me wrong, the bourbon works really well with this, but to complement the mint and the ginger just a little bit more, if you find a mint forward, or even like the slight, not necessarily pepper, but I'm
something herbaceous.
Yeah.
How about the heat nut? Almost the heat, right?
Kind of, yeah. Forward rye, as opposed to the people who get the dill pickle, whatever. If you find that forward rye, a mint forward rye, it complements it so much more with the ginger and the mint.
See, and all this talk of mint, and all I'm thinking is, like there are some malts and some peated malts, and I know Sarah and probably Sam are not as much into the peated, but there is that herbaceous minty element, or sometimes a eucalyptus note even, that people will get in their peated whiskeys.
Right.
And that sort of element to bring it into, because people think, especially like as much as it's like, okay, well, I'll do bourbon in the summer and I'll do scotch in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about that minty note that you get, especially in that peaty, smoky scotches and peaty, smoky malts, doesn't matter whether it's coming from Scotland or somewhere else, that could play really well and be really fresh.
Well,
in a summer drink. Like I know it's the end of the night, but this is one of my favorite ones that I made.
Not even the smoky scotches, but just your non-peated scotches that, or even Irish whiskeys, because there are some Irish whiskeys that have very high fruit flavors on the palate. And it makes me think of today. We did some we did some batch recordings, a couple of recordings for our channel, and we compared one of the ones that we're going to put out with Cardew. It's a scotch, and it is very fruity and fruitful. It would go really well with like this cantaloupe over here, or even this honeydew in one of these smashes. So, I mean, don't just think about the bourbon side of it. Think about, the other options you have out there. Yeah. There's a lot of Irish whiskeys that have a lot of tropical fruit flavors on the palate that would go really well with some of these smashes.
Yeah.
So
the only thing with Irish whiskeys, though, is their proof is generally lower, like in the 80s or 90s. And so it's really hard to get that proof that can kind of elevate your cocktail, right?
Redbreast 12 cask strength. I bet you.
That's true.
Oh, I bet you that would taste really good, even as just a lemon lime highball.
Yeah,
do it with Sprite or 7-Up, and your because that cask strength is going to stand up in a way. I mean, I love Redbreast. I think it is amazing. I love it, but it's got that balance of creamy and oh wow. And then you're talking about the tropical notes. I have a bourbon cask Kilchoman that has these absolutely divine caramelized pineapple notes. I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. That'd be perfect for like.
You think of the higher proof things that it stands out some, but I think it would be okay in like the summer, especially if you're, say it's the weekend and you're hanging out in the backyard by the pool with your family or whatever. I'm in Texas, so remember that. To have a whiskey that may not be as high proof, but blends really well with the fruit, might not be a bad thing if you're looking to let loose a little bit.
Pineapple
and to
upside
convert other
down
people
cocktail.
into whiskey drinkers,
Yeah, the lower proof, it doesn't stand out so much, so they get that whiskey in there and maybe kind of start to tamper back a little bit less fruit, a little bit more whiskey, and ease them in. But something that like complements the fruit very well might hide the whiskey a little bit to help convert somebody. Or get you in really big trouble because you had 10 and you don't know that you had 10 and they just taste so good. Whatever.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw something out there as sort of a challenge at this point. Now we're heading into, it's now 20 to we're into an hour and 40 minutes at this point.
Yeah, we're gonna
This always happens when I join you guys. Why does this always happen?
We do
when
2-hour streams. When it's cocktails, we just have to do 2-hour streams. It's a thing. But so because Sam, I'm going to reach out to, because Sam is a wine drinker,
but not a good one.
But not a good one.
She's trying. We're trying to get her converted. I mean, I think that the blackberry and the raspberry and blueberry, like those kinds of fruity notes are going to help bring somebody along who's maybe a wine drinker. Mm-hmm. But, I do have whiskeys that have like those high sherry cask influences. We talked a little bit about earlier, like with how that could really work well with something in the fresh fruit, like a high sherry, like a sherry finished bourbon,
right?
Or a sherry finished scotch, or a sherried whiskey, just in general,
right?
So let's say we're not trying to convert people from just being cocktail drinkers to whiskey drinkers, but our wine drinker friends, like
all
Sam,
your friends. Right? Thank you.
How do we?
We love you, Sam.
Yes, we do. Like I know personally, I have done. So Welch's grape juice, they make these freezies, and I bought them at Costco. And I have done those with like making the freezies and putting the freezies into a wine glass with fresh fruit and then Moscato on top of them. And holy shit, those were good in the summer. But I'm going to throw it back to Heather. For our whiskey, for our wine friendly people, any ideas on what we could do with our smashes or our slings or whatever it is?
Yeah.
How can we bring our non-whiskey friends into this whole, whiskey cocktail environment?
Sure, absolutely. So the last smash that I did this week was actually a strawberry basil smash that you then top with Prosecco or a Moscato or any kind of sparkling wine. So the idea was to have some whiskey in there, but also to top it with a little bit of that sparkly kind of bubbly mouthfeel that you have from wine, which gives it a little bit more of a sour feel. And I think that what you could do is for people who are very much more wine drinkers rather than whiskey drinkers is dial back on the whiskey and keep the wine content a little bit higher. So instead of adding a couple ounces of whiskey, maybe only add an ounce of whiskey, and then kind of up that with a little bit of Moscato or something bubbly on top, or really anything that adds a little bit of a sour note to an otherwise sweet smash. The sour note from the Moscato or the wine will combine really well with the lemon notes of the underlying tartness. So in the case that I used, it was strawberry and basil. And strawberries, really, if you taste them by themselves, are pretty tart. They're not a super sweet. They are sweet, but they're not a super sweet fruit. And so I think something like that, you could dial back the whiskey, kind of up the wine content on there, and kind of build the taste level with the fruitiness and combine the sourness of the Moscato. To me, obviously to me, wine is a little bit more sour because I'm used to drinking whiskeys and bourbons, right? So someone who always drinks wine, they may not always taste that sourness, but to me, there's a sourness there. So combining that with the basil, a little bit of the herbaceousness of the basil, which is also sweet, and the actual wine itself, if you add a little bit of simple syrup and a little bit of the whiskey, I think that will also combine well to kind of bring everything together, basically. I mean, Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that would totally work, and that would be good for hands down.
Yeah, I think dialing for people who are not whiskey drinkers, dialing back on the wine or dialing back on the whiskey
Right.
and upping the wine a little bit will give you the vanilla, because I think whiskey itself has a lot of vanilla flavors and a lot of sweetness. That if you get it low enough, it's almost like adding a vanilla extract to a cocktail.
Right.
You've got the vanillas, you've got the oaks, which is a little bit dry and tannic, which matches with the wine, especially if you're using a sweeter wine. It kind of balances out that sweetness of the Moscato or the Prosecco or something that's sweeter like that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, from a whiskey drinker, that's the perspective that I would take. If I'm trying to convert a wine drinker to a whiskey drinker, that is the approach that I would take.
Yeah.
Nice.
So in true Sarah fashion, I mix my cocktails.
Of course you did.
Cocktails. So I've got my watermelon and mint, and then I have the cantaloupe and pineapple and mint, and then I poured the rest of the rare breed and ginger cocktail in here, and it's actually really good.
I was going to say all those.
So the three layered together is really a good flavoring.
Yeah.
I smashed them all together again. Smash the fruit some more, and it's really good. It's like a fruit cocktail with that bourbon hint behind it, because I didn't put the rye one in, but this is true Sarah fashion. I blend things and I drink things.
You just put it all together. It's like swamp water.
I freaked William out a little bit because he came out from the back, and I'm sitting here mashing again, and he goes, "Did you make another drink?" No. No, 4's enough. So yeah, this is actually really good if you mix them all together. It tastes like a fruit cocktail, essentially.
Wonderful.
With herbs.
With mint.
I added, because this is from the first one, all of the rosemary, lemon, and lime. And I poured that with some of the cherry into my Octomorian smoky-esque Octomorian, not Octomoron, Octomorian. Very important distinction. I think we may need to end this just simply because I think we got smashed on Sunday. On Sunday. We're doing whiskey smashes, and I got smashed. So
yeah, it's about going on 2 hours. So we're about where we were last time.
Yeah,
it's about time today. I was actually gonna say that I was gonna give Heather some time here to go ahead and plug herself a little bit more. Yeah. Tell us what you got. If you got any shit, we need to keep your eye out for where we can find you. All of that.
Yes.
Perfect. So if you need to find me on Instagram, I'm at cocktail_Contessa on Instagram. And I'm posting everything on Instagram and also on Facebook. So Cocktail Contessa on Facebook. And then my blog itself is cocktailcontessa.com. So if you need to look up any of the quarantine recipes, right now I'm doing 5 different themed cocktails a week. So this next week is going to be juleps. Last week was smashes, which is why we're kind of covering smashes, because I had all the ingredients right now for the smashes.
Perfect.
So I would love for anyone who is watching today to join me either on Instagram or Facebook, or hopefully I will get my YouTube channel up here soon. Once I get to 50 subscribers, I'll actually have a Cocktail Contessa URL. But my goal is basically to help people who are not exactly whiskey drinkers to become whiskey drinkers, because I think whiskey is a really good entry point into elevated cocktails that can taste good, cocktails that can use really good, nice ingredients, and cocktails that can be enjoyed with your friends and family. I want to enjoy whiskey with my friends. I want you guys to too. So for all the people who are already whiskey drinkers like I was before I started doing cocktails, I want to give you a way to talk your non-whiskey drinking friends into drinking whiskey with the rest of us.
Like Sam.
Exactly like Sam.
Found Heather on Instagram. Go find her.
Yes.
Especially with summer coming up, some great ideas out there for refreshing drinks with your whiskey. I mean, why not branch out a little bit?
Exactly. And In a couple weeks, I don't know if you guys know about Peggy No Stevens and Susan Riegler have a book coming out soon, which is called Which Fork Do I Use with My Bourbon, which is all about hosting bourbon-themed events.
Okay.
And they had asked me for some cocktail recipes, so I have a number of cocktail recipes in that book as well. So it's called Which Fork Do I Use? Thank you. I'm so excited. It's called Which Fork Do I Use with My Bourbon? And it's Peggy No Stevens and Susan Riegler, who are, I consider, the bourbon queens. They are on the Bourbon Women Board of Directors with me. So they are totally my mentors.
Very nice.
Peggy No Stevens is probably one of my whiskey heroes, if ever there was one.
All right. Yeah. Go find her. Follow her.
Yes.
Sam, what do you
follow Heather?
Huh?
Yes. And when you guys need to talk cocktails again, let me know, and I'll clean up my kitchen, and I'll bring all my whiskey out, and we'll go for another 2 hours again.
We enjoy having you on. I enjoy dabbling in this cocktail side of things that I'm not used to. I
love it too.
That I'm gonna make this again we've got tons of rye samples over there because we're not huge rye fans, but we have to review it. That this is a really great way to drink those rye samples that we wouldn't normally do. So yeah,
exactly.
I like having you on, like, finding new ways to drink our whiskey.
Yeah,
I'm all about helping you drink your whiskey. That's all I'm about.
Sam, what do you guys got going on? I know Bobby's busy all the time now, but
busy a lot.
Always.
Yeah.
Violence is up in Cincinnati from the quarantine. So he's a busy man. So I don't know when we're going to put out another video. I don't know when we're going to do another live.
Because we always have this.
Yep. And so the only thing we might have coming up is if you're one of our patrons, we're going to do a patron only live called Bookers and Hookers, and he's going to tell prostitute stories.
Nice.
That's all I got. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but as little as $1 you can watch, and you can listen to hooker stories while we drink all kinds of bookers.
All right,
bookers and hookers.
Let's make sure everybody knows where to find you on Patreon and Instagram, Facebook.
Yes, we are. Our patron is I Whiskey She Wines. Our YouTube is I Whiskey She Wines. Our Facebook and Instagram are I Whiskey She Wines, and we're on the Twit under I Whiskey She Wine. Singular wine.
Because you can't have that last S on it because it'll have too many characters, right?
Had to drop the S for the Twit.
Yeah. I'm Cocktail Contessa. Yeah, totally get it.
Yeah, you're Cocktail Contessa. We're I Whiskey She Wine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Theresa, fill us in on what you got going on.
Theresa doesn't know my name.
I'm too drunk right now. Okay, so this kind of harkens back to our last, am I going to become an alcoholic during quarantine episode? And really, I'm not, except when I do shit like this with friends. So
that's all that matters.
Really and truly, PSA moment, I guess. If you are finding that during quarantine or self-isolation, did I say that right? I've had 4 or 5 doubles because of Heather. I'm going to blame Heather because I don't
blame me.
It's a good thing at this point because damn, this tastes good. But yeah, if you do find that you are drinking more during quarantine or during self-isolation, that is something that can happen. So make sure to be doing those checks.
Again, with your friends, not just to drink, but
exactly. This is I have saved up all of my whiskey drinking for tonight, apparently, and I'm having really good time. But you can find me on Instagram at Canadian Whiskey Smith. I am on Facebook at Canadian Whiskey Smith, though most of that comes from Instagram and things like this. So, yeah. Canadian
Excellent.
Whiskey Smith.
And
Sarah.
us over at the Whiskey Crusaders, we have our live stream tomorrow night.
And you had 1,000 yesterday.
We celebrated our 1,000 yesterday, yes. And I think I've had more to drink and feel more buzzed in the short amount of time than I did over the 7 hours yesterday. But tomorrow we will have a normal live at 9 p.m. Central. We will have Josh from Still Austin on talking about their wonderful products coming out of their distillery. And then we do have a couple of releases of videos released coming out this week as well. We've got a Jane Walker and we've got Weller Foolproof coming out this week. So try out for those on Tuesday and Thursday. Besides that, I'll let you know what's going on next time.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on half the time until a couple days before it happens. So
fair enough. Are we still thinking that we want to try and do a lipsticks live stream in 2 weeks?
Might as well. Yeah,
all
if
right.
we get it all together, we'll be back on in 2 weeks. I don't know what we're going to do or who we're going to do it with or why we're going to do it, but we're going to do it.
we will find something and tell you all.
We might as well just do it.
Yeah.
What else do we have going on? So until next time, 2 weeks or so, hopefully 2 weeks. Thank you guys for all hanging out. Heather, thank you again for coming on and some awesome drinks to make, especially with summer.
Thank you for having me. I can't tell you how much fun this is to sit and talk about cocktails for a couple hours with you guys.
I get so drunk during our cocktail drinks.
You're welcome.
Okay, so until next time, you guys, stay safe, stay healthy, stay home if they're making you still. And cheers.
Yes. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Night.
Good night.
See ya.